Welcome to the Leaders on Shopify podcast, where merchants, app partners and agencies share what it really takes to significantly scale your Shopify brand. So today we're going to be talking all about selling shoes online using Shopify. We've got the pleasure of having Stuart Paver, the chairman of Paver Shoes, one of the UK's biggest online shoe retailers, who's got a very interesting story about how he's been dabbling in selling shoes right from the beginning of the sort of internet era, and I think could have a claim to be one of the first people to sell shoes online. We walk through his journey of all the different websites he's had, and now how the focus is mainly on Jones, the bootmaker, and Paver Shoes, plus several other specific brands, all under the same Shopify umbrella. So let's dive into it and understand, was Stuart really the first person to sell shoes online? Welcome to Leaders on Shopify. Stuart, thank you very much for joining the show. If you could start by introducing yourself and giving us a little bit of background.
So I'm Stuart Paver, currently chair of Paver Shoes, chair of the Pavers Foundation, Visit York, Make It York, and a couple of other things. Keep busy, yes.
Keep busy. And from my research, you've been fascinated with the internet and selling things online for quite a long time. When did you sort of decide that the internet was going to be the way to go for a shoe retailer?
I think it was about 1998 that we first started playing with it. Possibly 97 with an information-only site. 98 we were starting to plan selling product online, and 99 was when we actually launched shoe-shop.com, which ended up selling most of the shoes from the big British manufacturers and big British brands early on. So we were exclusive distributor for Clark's, Church's Footwear, Shoe, the retailer, and many, many others, right from those early days in early 2000.
So you're probably one of the first people to start selling shoes online. Do you think?
Possibly in the UK, probably in Europe. We were definitely amongst the first one or two in Europe. So yeah, we really started early.
I remember when I first started in sort of digital marketing and the internet. I've been in this a long time. I was like, I get why people are buying books on Amazon. I said, nobody's ever going to buy a pair of shoes on the internet.
We thought that to begin with. As a retailer, you always think that. And then you look at what used to be the scope of catalogues, and there was something like £400 million worth of sales in the UK done through the old catalogues. So it was obvious that people wanted to buy from their home.
Yeah. And so you got involved and started selling shoes online from your backdrop of big direct mail business. What's the sort of evolution? And obviously, I'm not expecting you to share exact numbers, but roughly how many pairs of shoes, how many brands, and how many different sort of moving parts have you now got on Shopify? Because I know it's sort of been an evolution and you're not just one brand, but some rough numbers just to give people a gauge of size.
I think we operate 5 brands stores on Shopify and probably sell £65 million worth of footwear online. So big numbers. So it's important that we get the systems correct.
Yeah. And you've had lots of different websites over the time. What was your big reason why you decided to move to Shopify, and how did you approach that?
I suppose in the early days, we built our own. We then moved on to a system I can't remember, and another one, then Magento. But Magento always felt like it was built for programmers rather than retailers. And Shopify has the sort of opposite effect. It feels like it's built really for retailers. And apparently it was built by a retailer in the first place. The guy that started it was a retailer of snowboards.
Yeah, snowboards to Canada.
Yeah. So it just has a different feel and a different emphasis on what we want to control as a retailer.
And first of all, I think was it you put Jones on to see sort of where you go, and then you've obviously got
Pavers now. So suppose, what's been the journey? How's it gone down with the team? How's it changed your business? What are the sort of positives that you've seen?
Um, the positives of Shopify really are the front end. It's a great front end. It handles the transaction brilliantly. Shop Pay just makes life simple. And it really does make that whole processing of orders and everything else great. It's not so good in the back end. That's why there's an app store,
Yeah.
because you need the additional things to go on the back end of it to help out with what's going on. But Shopify, really great. Hosting, security, we don't have to worry about these things. The transaction with the cards, we don't have to worry about cybersecurity on the Shopify site because that's all handled.
Yeah. And roughly, you talked about in sort of revenue terms, how many hundreds of thousands or millions of pairs of shoes are you selling across your 5 brands a year,
Um,
roughly?
1.7 million pairs a year online. So
That's a lot of shoes every day.
it's a lot of shoes every day. I always envisaged that it would be a big thing. I always hoped it'd be a low cost operation, but it's not a low cost operation. It practically costs us as much as running a store as a percentage of each transaction, given what we have to spend these days.
Yeah. And what have been, I suppose, you mentioned the back end being a challenge. What other challenges have you had with either the team, the infrastructure, the sort of transition into selling online? Because online's a big part of your business now.
It is a big part. Some businesses it's 30%, but others it's now more than 50%. So one of the biggest issues is that as you transfer more sales to online, your warehousing becomes ever more important. The ability to handle all those transactions, the ability to handle the returns, the ability to make sure you're not losing things or things are going out that you're not aware of. So systems become increasingly important, and just scaling up for that volume is a really, really difficult thing to do, because our warehouse was initially set up to bring things in and send them out to shops, and then to fill up the shops. Now the stock's got to sit in the middle to fulfill those orders coming in online. So it takes more space, more expense in the centre than you traditionally had.
And I suppose more people. Yeah, different people.
More people, different skill sets, but it's all about sort of accuracy and speed of movement around the warehouse, speed of picking, all those different metrics that as a retailer you probably never got involved in the past.
Is it before it was all about maybe the store layout and the merchandising in the store?
Yeah.
And it was, we're sending one van full of shoes and then the store manager will deal with it. Whereas now you've got to think, well, how do we lay this warehouse out to be most efficient? What are
Yeah.
our top sellers? Where do we put them?
Yeah.
So how have you had to change the sort of warehousing in the business?
Build bigger warehouses. And more automated warehousing so that things move around the system without too much interaction with people. We've looked at robots for picking and packing. We haven't got there yet. They're still a little bit off, but I would think that in the next 5 years, there'll be some seriously good opportunities with automated picking and packing.
And so from a sort of business point of view now, if you're looking forward, how do you see online growing for the Pavers brands? Where do you see the next steps and the evolution of what is or isn't going on?
It's a fairly mature market now, online. The people that don't buy online are probably 75, 80 plus. The rest of people have migrated the spend that they're going to spend online. And it's really about being the most efficient person in acquiring those customers, keeping them motivated, selling them the second pair, selling them the third pair, and really customer retention becomes very, very important now.
Yeah, so it's that sort of brand loyalty. And how much of that is down to good quality marketing versus good quality product? Because the trick in retail is always about selling a good quality product.
It's easier to sell a good quality product with bad marketing than it is to sell a bad product with good marketing.
Right.
It just, if people understand the product, see the product, and talk about the product because it's good, you'll get customers. They'll come back for their second pair. They'll come back for their third pair. A product that's just purely marketed and isn't really that good, you may get your first sale, but that's it.
Yeah. And I suppose for you, well, I just have to look. So Pavers, from my mum's a big customer. You just have to look at, she then wraps up all the Christmas presents in Pavers shoes box. And
Yeah.
we'll get Pavers shoes, but she's done us a little mini sort of
Yeah.
handout. I think two Christmases ago, there's about 6 Pavers shoes boxes.
Yeah.
And that's just from her shop. She's this.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good customer or if that's a sort of, what is there an average number? Are you aiming for a pair of shoes per customer a year?
There's a distinct difference between male and female buying of footwear. Women want a new pair to go with a new outfit, and it's so men buy on average about 2.5 pairs a year. Ladies are probably averaging 3.5 to 4 pairs a year.
Right. So a big difference.
A huge difference.
And you mentioned before the cost of running the website. The perception often is, well, it's cheap to do e-commerce.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily the case. So what are the things that are costing you the most money, and what are you doing to try and optimize that, improve it and tweak it and all those sorts of things?
Well, Google is a huge cost. Whether that ever gets replaced is debatable at the moment. I think we can all see people buying lots on AI or starting to, and I think the whole world is going to change quite quickly as far as PPC and everything else is concerned. But marketing is definitely a much more expensive spend for online sales. And then it's just the whole processing and warehousing that costs a lot of money.
Yeah. And that whole AI, we sort of touched on it. We've managed to get nearly, 15 minutes in without mentioning AI. We talked a bit about robotics in the warehouse. I personally, I know you're quite into technology. I'm spending more time in Claude and Gemini than I am in Google search, researching, finding things, finding products, getting help and advice. How do you see the shopper's journey changing, and when are we going to sell the first pair of shoes directly from an LLM?
I think it's a question of when they start including those links within their answers. And they will do that without doubt. I think it started already in a couple of models, but the major models, it's a question of whether it will actually ruin the model, in that it becomes, if you pay the most, you get included in the answer. Or, it sort of defeats the object. Yeah.
It's because in America, OpenAI have said you can sponsor links to sponsor products.
Yeah.
Minimum spend $250,000 a month.
Yeah.
So that's a bit prohibitive to the big brands. And there's Shopify has done the UCP with Google to create this. So I suppose you as a Shopify retailer should, when they launch it into the UK, we can just press a button, and then somebody who's researching, I don't know, best slippers for comfy slippers for the winter or whatever.
Yeah.
Your slipper should be there. There should be a buy now button.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be this year.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't surprise me at all. It's going to change the whole market, though. And I think within a couple of years, we're going to see a completely different outlook to where we are now. And we've got to be ready for it.
I was talking to someone else the other day, and I was saying, well, do we see a world where there's retailers who don't have shops, don't have a website? They're almost like a dark warehouse who's got a connection into the LLMs, and it's almost like they're just shipping product. And we were having this debate. So he goes, well, that's no different than just selling on Amazon Marketplace.
Yeah.
He goes, and there's people who built great businesses just selling on Amazon Marketplace. It's harder, less margin, and Amazon's taking money at every stage of the process. But he was saying he does see a world where you could potentially run almost like a warehouse operation shipping product if there's enough demand for your product. I don't know if I agree.
Well, there's within our sector, there's hundreds of Chinese brands exclusively selling on Amazon. non-branded product at very low prices, and the product only touches the UK when it's sold. The Temu model for fast fashion. And these are all dark warehouses where the product's stocked, and for the European market or the American market or anywhere else, but they have no staff in the UK, no staff in Europe, and it's purely marketing driven.
And they're not paying the right taxes and then the duties because of the packet sizes.
Yeah.
And everything else. So
no, it destroys a lot of retailers. But that's what drives efficiency here. You've got to be efficient, otherwise you're not going to have a business for much longer.
You would argue, though, because do you sell anything on Amazon? How does Amazon sort of fit into the mix?
We have a tiny presence on Amazon, but sometimes it's more expensive selling on there than any other platform. So it becomes more and more difficult. And you're always being undercut by either the Chinese direct to consumer. I nearly said brands, but they're not brands. They're just a product. Yeah. So one of our biggest moats is the fact that we are a brand now. Our customers are loyal. They like the stuff that we do. They think the price that we charge is fair, and they think they're comfortable. So that's our real sort of moat to stop the competition.
Yeah. And from a sort of business point of view now, and the whole evolution on Shopify, because you said before it's quite mature, do you see it's now the LLMs are just going to, because I'm trying to work out, everybody said, sort of reframe the question, everybody said that the internet's going to kill high street, and you've got 170 stores, right? Yeah. So it's not killed your stores. It maybe changed some of those stores.
Yeah.
And people are now saying, well, LLMs and people shopping in LLMs might kill website and traditional digital marketing. My personal view is I think it's just going to change it. It's going to be really interesting to see how it evolves. From your sort of point of view, having lived through stores, internet plus stores, how's business going to change over the next sort of 2 to 3 years?
Well, one of the strange things about our early days is we started off completely online with shoeshop.com, and after about 3 years moved into catalogs as well.
Right.
Because although people like to shop on the screen, now it's all on mobile, but they actually like sometimes a piece of paper to relax with and a catalogue to relax with and have a coffee and flick through it. So it's just another stage of evolution. It will bring people into the Shopify site, whether it's through an LLM, whether it's through PPC, whether it's through a catalogue. It all drives the person into that facilitator of the sale, which is Shopify, and which I can't really see changing.
Yeah. And from a business point of view, you also did TV.
Yeah.
And sort of there's this big trend in China at the moment about people doing, like, what do they call it?
Live sales, yeah.
Yeah, like live sales.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to be a thing for Pavers? Is that going to come back? Have you sort of dabbled in that? Because at one point you had a studio, you had TV, almost a TV channel.
Well, we had our own dedicated TV channel on Sky. Was it 659? I think it was 659, the channel number. Yeah, we sold a lot through third parties on TV, the likes of QVC and the other one, I can't remember what they were called. And they became increasingly difficult to work with, and we just decided it can't be that difficult to start our own TV channel.
Yeah.
So we got the studio, we did the recordings and everything else. The satellite uplinks and everything else were just farmed out to somebody, and it worked really well for a while. But that whole market has changed. That whole market is imploding as people moved much more onto online, and it's just constant evolution at the moment.
Yeah. And one thing we've talked about LLMs, we've talked about AI, we've talked about robotics. If you'd have asked me last August, is image AI ready to be used in real life? But I know you as a business have been testing out if you can enhance images of shoes with legs and feet. the cost of producing images for a website is the photo shoot, the video shoot, all of that. And historically, people will go take a load of models, take a load of product, and do all of that. And that puts a load of cost in, which then you've got to, it gets either eaten into your margin or puts the price up. One thing I know you've been playing around with is images and of enhancing images to make them, put them more in situation or using AI. How's that gone down? What's been the sort of feedback from both the team and the consumers? Has it improved conversion rate? What's been the sort of journey there, and how's that been going?
It's really, really interesting to sort of monitor this and see what's evolving. The quality of what you can do has increased exponentially over the last 6 to 9 months. It still has its limitations, and it'll still sometimes invent shoes that you don't sell, or add an extra leg, or do some random things. But it needs that quality control with humans and everything else. But the quality of what's happening is incredible. Video is more difficult to get realistic, because even the best ones that I've seen for products, the product looks great, but it doesn't look realistic. It just has not quite evolved far enough. But it's only a matter of time. So, yeah, I think the whole real shooting of products and the real shooting of videos and sending people off to South Africa to get a bit of sunshine for it's going to be decimated. That whole industry is.
Well, I think it's interesting because you were talking about you've got to be more efficient so you can compete.
Yeah.
This is potentially a way you can be more efficient. And I think what a lot of brands like yourself did is they reduced the actual types of product shots just down into individual product shots shot in the studio.
Yeah.
And having the situational shot was beyond based on the cost.
Yeah.
Now AI gives you that opportunity to put a pair of sandals. So we're talking about images.
Yeah.
So if someone had asked me last September, I would have said maybe for like dogs, buildings, the odd thing like that that didn't involve a human or didn't involve a physical product with a brand on, because it was destroying products and brands. But I've seen, with your website and with quite a lot of other brands now starting to really evolve this. And I think we saw there's a luxury handbag company, they've been testing it, and they still do the photo shoot, but they don't do the video shoot, and they take the photos and turn them into video.
Yeah.
Successfully as well, and it seems to be working. So I completely agree with the evolution, but I think then the hard bit is how do you productionize that?
Yeah.
And also everybody thinks it's for free.
It's not
for free.
No.
So there's tokens, there's compute cost, there's AI cost. So it's not for free, but it is still cheaper and potentially better. And what's sort of performance uplifts have you noticed? Have you got enough data yet?
We haven't really got enough data, but we know on foot shots increase conversion. So our ability to produce those at a low cost certainly help conversion. But one of the great things is that you can take a really poor shot and you can make it into a good shot. We've done it deliberately with coffee cups in the shot and all sorts of things, and from the wrong angles, and it will work it out and create a good shot for you.
No, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's almost that post-production just becomes so much easier.
Yeah.
Or if someone took the wrong photo, you can make it into a good photo.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people's perception of Shopify is that it's just for the small startups, the mom and pop shops. You're a big tens of million pound turnover retailer. If you're an enterprise level retailer listening to this podcast, what would your advice be about looking at Shopify?
Well, I think Shopify Enterprise is one of the choices for the bigger retailers, and there are hundreds of £1 million turnover stores on there. It's not just for small retailers anymore. There's a version which is suitable for every size.
Yeah. And if you're looking at the sort of data side of things, I don't want you to be too biased or sort of agnostic, but you can talk about other data. You can talk about dashboarding tools as well.
Yeah.
But so one thing you mentioned is the reason you love Shopify is the front end, the speed, the way it merchandises your product and gets that transaction from sort of somebody landing there to clicking and checking out. What are the frustrations you've had with Shopify? One of the things you said was the back end. What do you specifically mean? Is it the reporting? Is it the measurement? Is it what is it about the back end that has frustrated you?
It's a lot to do with the reporting and how it joins information together. You'll often find that you want this piece of information in this report, and it just goes, no, we don't do that. So you need external sources to be able to take all the data, join it together, and produce the reports that you actually want to see in the way that you want to see it, which will create value for you, deciding what you need to replenish, what you need to mark down, and all those sorts of metrics that a retailer works with every week are sometimes quite difficult in the back end. Even when you understand the language of the Shopify reporting, it's just sometimes it won't allow you to join the stuff up.
So how do you go about doing that? What do you have to do? Then I suppose you then have stores and marketplaces and everything else. So what do you end up doing?
So we end up utilizing other tools in order to get that done, and there's used to be Crystal reports, then it's Tableau, then we're moving to much more ThoughtSpot and AI-based tools, and we've also been utilizing the beta version of the Ask Bosco app to have a look at the back end, and that's starting to work really, really well.
And rolling forward, you're mainly UK based. You've dabbled in different countries in the past. What's your current view? And I know there's geopolitical issues at the moment, but what's the current view about global domination with you?
Global domination is difficult, but we do have some very, very specialist products that we can sell all around the world, which are great. And the aging population in China and Japan and different places gives us a prime opportunity in some of those markets to sell very specialized comfort older people's footwear.
And would you go there with the Shopify proposition? Would you go online first, or how do you think you?
You have to go online first because online is such a big proportion of sales. Whether you're using live presenters to live sell, which seems to be a huge thing there, you'd probably end up doing a bit of it, and then some concessions in department stores in the main centres.
Yeah,
would be the entry. So,
and when you're not running Pavers,
yeah,
you do a lot with the Pavers Foundation. You keep yourself busy with lots of other things. What's been the big things you've been doing in the last couple of years?
oh, one of the most enjoyable has been supporting Ukraine and working with our foundation out there. We raised a lot of money separately to the main foundation funds and have used that to do an awful lot of good work over in Ukraine, helping save loads of lives. And it really does give you a great sense of achievement when people tell you that you've saved X number of lives because they used this equipment that they never had without you.
Yeah. So you're using some of the profits and some of the money you've raised from your business to help change people, I suppose, who aren't as fortunate.
Yeah, that's one part of it. The rest of it is the foundation, the Pavers Foundation, where we've given away nearly £2.5 million now mainly to causes brought to us by people that work for us. So something that means a lot to them. It's allowed us to really help them with those projects. And so every 6 months we have a committee that sits down, looks at all the proposals from people, and then awards them some money, the ones that they think deserve it. We especially like the sort of kitchen top charities where we know that every pound that we're giving actually makes a difference.
Big overhead, there's no profit, it goes straight into the cause. Yeah.
And there's been such a lot more requests for food banks and feeding people and the basics, which you think should be covered, but they're not. So a lot of people that work for us work for these local charities and things, or are in, or have a member of family that's been helped by a charity, and they just want to give something back, and we just help them do that.
Yeah. So that must be really rewarding as a both as a family-run business and for the team and
Yeah.
everybody else to know they're part of something that isn't just about making
Yeah.
profit.
When you have 170 locations, it's really difficult tying them into remembering that they're part of a family group and everything else, and that this just makes everybody feel part of something more than just selling shoes.
And you've been in retail a long time. Which retailers do you sort of look up to or follow or look and think, oh, they're quite smart, I'm going to borrow some of their ideas? Who's on your sort of radar, who's doing it well?
Well, plagiarism is a bit of every retailer's armory. A lot of the people that we looked up to 10 years ago aren't here anymore.
Who are those?
Russell and Bromley, for instance,
That's a
they
good one, yeah.
they were flying and doing brilliantly 10 years ago, and we aspired to be where they were with regard to profitability and everything else. Unfortunately, they disappeared a few months back. So I've always been of the opinion that you look at what you do and you try to improve it in small increments all the time. The big changes that people want to do often lead to problems. So it's better to just keep doing what you're doing a little bit better every 3 months and never lose focus on your customer.
You've done a good job at avoiding my question there. So which of the current retailers out there do you sort of look up and think they're doing it well? Doesn't have to be shoes.
Yeah, you'd have to say that Next just defy gravity all the time. They just keep on getting bigger, more profitable, and working ever more effectively.
Is some of that economies of scale, do you think? Or is that just good systems process?
I wouldn't say the systems are that great sometimes, but they've just cornered that consumer. They're providing them with when they want and a way that they want it. So customers keep going back to them.
Well, that's been really super interesting. Thank you for coming on, and really impressed with the stuff you're doing with the foundation, and looking forward to see you selling lots of shoes.
Thank you. Thanks, John.
Thank you for listening to today's Leaders on Shopify podcast, which was sponsored by Ask Bosco AI Analytics and Insights. To find out more about Ask Bosco, visit askbosco.io or search Ask Bosco in the Shopify App Store.